I call this meeting of Sylvania City Council for December 4th, 2023 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hanem?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout? Here. Mrs. Westfall?
Mrs. Westfall is excused. 6 members of council are present, therefore a quorum does exist. I invite you all to our council meeting and ask Mr. Fry to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have no additions other than to note agenda item 5 will be for final passage of the 2024 budget. Members of staff, Mr. Sanford,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Chief Miller,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Aller,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Brining,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Fry,
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
and members of City Council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to bring up discussion on water rates as an item.
All right. Let's, I'd like to do that before the executive session, if that's all right.
That's fine.
Why don't we actually make it 6A, is that all right?
Sounds great.
Okay. Any other items from members of City Council? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the agenda for this evening's meeting is approved. Agenda item 4 is approval of the meeting minutes from the last meeting on November 20th. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the packet that was sent out, there was one minor correction in your agenda for the meeting minutes. It indicated that the mayor was considering agenda item number 3, and that's obviously, he wasn't able to make it the last meeting, so that should be amended to have my name there. But other than that, I didn't have any other amendments to the meeting minutes.
I can assure you I was here in spirit. All right, is there a motion to approve these meeting minutes as amended?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the council meeting on November 20th, 2023 as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and those meeting minutes are approved as amended. Agenda item 5 is we are here for a third and hopeful final passage of the 2024 budget. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I might make a quick comment before we consider it. I know I mentioned this in the past, but I wanted to thank the mayor and the administrative staff for putting the budget together, and the fact that it's a balanced budget again is a wonderful thing. We continue to be able to do that, and we certainly appreciate the ongoing efforts of the administrative staff to be able to work through this process with us and move forward with a balanced budget. So with that, I'd like to introduce ordinance number 88, 2023. All members having received prior copies, I will read by title only. To make appropriations for current expenditures and other expenditures of the city of Sylvania, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, I move final passage of ordinance number 88, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for final passage of ordinance number 88, 2023. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 88, 2023 is enacted. Thank you for council's support. It's very helpful to the finance department to get this done here early in December so they can start putting the new budget into the city's finance software. And thank you, Mr. Schroyer. Agenda item 6 is proposed ordinance 95, 2023. This is an annual ordinance to update the non-union employees that work for the city of Sylvania. I'd like Mr. Schroyer to explain this one.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like you said, this is an annual ordinance, for the non-union employees. The union employees are all in their last year of their contract in 2024. That contract calls for a 2.75% pay increase. And that's what this proposal is for the non-union members, is a 2.75 pay increase effective January 1st of 2024.
Any questions of Mr. Schroyer? I believe there's one change in here that was requested by the law director. Ms. Bryant.
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm trying to think, probably about 15, 20 years ago, the structure of the prosecutor's office was changed to provide for one full-time prosecutor and 2 part-time prosecutors. And we were able to work with that structure with the previous judge. Since the addition of the magistrate, they like to run 2 courtrooms at the same time, which makes sense, right, for efficiency, which often leaves the prosecutor's office with nobody up there and certain days where the chief prosecutor is trying to cover both courtrooms. Additionally, I would like to have the chief prosecutor be able to occasionally start coming up to speed on my stuff so that there's a little backup on my end as well if in the event I can't be here or whatever. So that's the reason for the requested additional full-time prosecutor. We will obviously reduce the part-time prosecutors. There won't really be a need for any part-time coverage, I don't anticipate, except in the event of an illness or emergency with one of the prosecutors.
So is this pretty much a equal exchange?
I would have to check with
It's
Mr.
one
Schreier.
extra day a week
Right.
of.
Okay, so it is a little different.
Right.
But the court is running at a higher rate with the
Correct.
magistrate conducting business in the second courtroom.
And it's just been, we've been struggling through it, but it's become more difficult.
As far as I know, there are no other changes to the structure other than the increase of 2.75% to match the third and final year of the current labor contracts. This would be Mrs. Westfall's committee, but in her absence, I'm calling on Mr. Hanson to read this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce by title only ordinance number 95-2023, making certain position and compensation pay plan changes, making certain salary, wage, and other service compensation adjustments to the codified ordinances of Sylvania 1979 as amended, and other ordinances by granting pay increases to the appointed officials whose titles are listed in section 139.03E3, by granting a 2 3/4%, 2.75% pay increase to all non-union city employees and court employees whose positions are included in the list of occupational titles of section 139.02A of the codified ordinances of Sylvania, which increase is reflected in the annual wage rate schedule 4 of section 139.10D of the Sylvania codified ordinances. By amending section 131.02C, Department of Law, Director, Division of Prosecution, by granting pay increases for some of the employees in the Labor and Trade Supervision Group. I move for passage of ordinance number 95-2023 as an emergency measure.
Second. It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance 95, 2023 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 95, 2023 is enacted as an emergency measure. Thank you. Now to added agenda item 6A, proposed water and sewer rate increases. Mr. McCann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having a discussion with Mr. Aller regarding water rates and projects coming into the future. I had asked for a gathering of a couple of things. Number one is how that would affect the water rate structure, and also how are we doing against the other municipalities since the water agreement has been reached.
Come out here somewhere a little more centralized. The council may recall in 2019, we did about 15% reduction in the rate at that time because in previous years, we had done a couple large increases with the anticipation that we would be pursuing our own water system, independent of the city of Toledo. Through a lot of meetings and a lot of negotiation, we were able to come to an agreement in Toledo with everybody else in Lucas County and some of Wood County, and created the Regional Water Commission. And so council made a decision at that point, because we had done the large increases, to do a large reduction, so as to basically give that money back, if you will, to the customers that had paid those increased rates. So in doing that, we knew at the time that we would be basically reducing our reserves. They had grown to well over $6 million at that point, and we knew that we would be reducing those reserves, and at some point need to come back and sort of level those rates out. In taking a look at the upcoming projects, we're proposing that we start to bring those rates up a little bit and be able to start that balancing act, if you will. Let me. Blue is for water and green is for sewer. Thank you.
Mr. Aller, before you, is there a balance on the reserve?
At the bottom, you will see
Oh, here
the
it is.
reserve balance.
Last item.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And you'll see with the rates proposed, and all that we're proposing right now is the 2024 rates. Everything else out into the future is something that will come back to you on an annual basis, and see if we're still proceeding down the right path. Do we have some projects that crop up? Do we have some projects that come in less or more than anticipated, and things of that nature? But you can see with the anticipated rate structure that we've set up, by 2028, which is the end of when the current Regional Water Commission rate structure will end. At that point, it will be adjusted every 4 years. Those rates are kind of unknown at this point. We're very close to what the 10-year projection was when the Regional Water Commission was formed. And actually, our rates are coming in a little less than what was projected. So things are going well with the Regional Water Commission, but beyond 2028 is very difficult for anybody to project. But if you take a look at what we're proposing, by the year 2028, we will be at approximately a $2 million reserve fund. If you take a look at our financial policy, it says that we should have a 30% reserve of our annual expenses, and you can see that we're in the $5 to $6 million annual operating expenses. So we should be somewhere in that $1.5 to $1.8 million reserve. And so that $2 million, I think, is in that ballpark. Things will always fluctuate. The best projections that Toby and or I put together on expenses or revenues is never going to be spot on. So we always take a look at that. But I think that gives us a pretty good idea that in 2028 we'll be at about that $2 million figure. To get to that point, we're proposing that we start increasing rates, and on the water side, we're proposing a 4% increase for this upcoming year. Now, some may ask why now? We still have the funds there, and, you know, can we hold off a little longer? We can, but those future increases where you're seeing 5% increases and things of that nature, you know, those are now going to become 10%. And those rates hit people a little harder versus the ability to kind of ramp up to that point and, you know, absorb a little bit each year rather than one big hit. So on the water side, we're proposing for 2024 to have a 4% increase on the existing water rates. That would bring our rate to $8.75 per 1,000 gallons. And from a water strictly standpoint, that puts us, the only two communities that would be lower than us, or excuse me, three, because I kind of combined Toledo, Lucas County. City of Oregon, which has their own plan, will be lower than us. They are traditionally lower than anybody. They just, by having their plant in a confined service area, they're always lower on the water side. And then the city of Toledo, and then Lucas County will still be about $1.20, $1.30 lower than us. And then our rates will come in. Our average household utilizes about 5,500 gallons per month. So that would put if the rates are approved, that would put our monthly water bill at $48.13. Perrysburg is at $59.60, and the city of Maumee is at almost $71, $70.95. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at in comparison on the water side. Switching to the green or the sewer, we've done the same practice. You might recall last year and 2 years ago, we had to do some catch up there. Because we had done the large increases on the water side to prepare for potential independent system, we had kind of tried to keep the sewer rates lower so that we weren't also increasing them. And about last year and 2 years ago, that kind of caught up with us, and we had to make some large increases on that side. But you can see that those large increases have kind of caught us up. We're in pretty good standing. I do want to indicate the reserve balance that you currently see for 2023 is a little misleading because of government accounting. Because we awarded the large diameter sewer lining project, the third phase, we actually have to encumber, that was about $1.2 million. So that comes, it's earmarked, but it's still sitting in the bank because we haven't done any of the work yet. And then if you see in 2024, we actually get that $1.2 million back because we have OPWC and OWDA funding available. So we come back. So 2023 is a little misleading, but we get right back to a more healthy status, if you will, in 2024. So on the sewer side, I'm proposing that we keep pace with inflation and try to keep things moving. And I'm proposing just a 2% increase on the sewer side. That's an increase of about 11 cents per 1,000 gallons. Again, 11 cents times 5,500 is, about 60 cents. So, on a monthly bill. So that would be the increase on the sewer side. On the sewer side, we're actually, we have the best sewer rates of the area communities. Everybody is above us on the sewer side, and a few communities are more than double what we are. So we're very competitive. We're very, in my opinion, efficient. Our crews do a fantastic job of maintaining the system. We don't have the big emergency problems that other communities have. I hear other communities that their crews are constantly out on water main breaks, sewer plugs, things of that nature. Last year, through the entire year, we had 3 sewer plugs and 7 water main breaks. There are communities that had that much in a month. And so we do a very good job, and our crews are to be commended for that. So for this year, I am proposing a 4% increase to $8.75 on the water side, and a 2% increase to $5.56 per 1,000 gallons on the sewer side. And ready to answer any questions you might have.
So Kevin, if my math is correct, if we move forward with the proposed increases, the 4% for water and the 2% for sewer, for the average customer, 5,500 gallons, it's about $2.50 a month, about $30 a year.
That's correct.
Mr. Eller, I know we're focused on 2024, but I think that's just one piece of the puzzle, correct? I mean, this looks like approximate 20% increase over 5 years.
That's what we're looking at right now. There are some things that may be able to alter that. One of the things that I can't put in here is some of these projects, I'm fairly certain we'll be able to obtain some OPWC or some other grant funds, but I can't, that's a projection at this point. I don't know for sure that we'll have that money. But on the water side, we are kind of getting back up to a status quo basis. So there will be, those increases will probably be there, so that we don't continue to dip into those reserves. But on the sewer side, we should be pretty well. There's almost definitely some additional revenue that we'll be able to obtain on that side, but at this stage, being 3 years out, I don't know that.
And at this point, you're only asking for a 1-year rate increase.
Yep. All I'm looking for is 2024. We'll come back to you in the November, December timeframe each year and look at what we do for the following year.
If I may, one of the basic requirements of the signing the contract for the Regional Water Authority was that all water rates of contract communities be equalized. Some were higher, some were lower at the start of the negotiations, and within, I think it's 5 years, we're trying to equalize them all to be the same wholesale rate for water. That does not mean that every community that's a contract community will charge their residents the same rate, because water bills are made up of the wholesale cost of water and the cost of delivering that water to their customers. That's why Kevin was saying that Maumese is quite a bit higher, Perrysburg is higher. I got a call from the media last week asking me why that was. It's because internally, their cost of doing business is more than ours. And their cost of business was about the same as ours when they were paying a lower rate to the city of Toledo. And they are the ones paying the highest increases right now because, well, for whatever reason, the structure of how their departments are set up, their internal add-ons are higher than ours. And especially in the sewer department, which isn't water, we're doing very well on that one. Other people belong to the Lucas County Regional Sanitary Sewer System. We own about 21%, something like that, of the plant down in Waterville. And we have been paying some of our share of the capital improvements down there. But we've been able to keep our costs lower. We hope we can continue to do that with all these investments that we're making with OPWC grants to reline our sewer pipes before they need to be replaced. So I think we're on a really good track here, but don't be, if you get questioned by your peers in other communities, that's why our water rate is different from theirs. It's what they need to add on to operate their systems.
Something else in consideration, we had discussed in a previous meeting was the potential down the road of the intake and dual lines coming from the lake, that we don't know what the effect is gonna be on that, but hopefully that's gonna be at least 5-6 years down the road.
And I see that Toledo and the Regional Water Authority is the benefactor of $1 million or $1.5 million coming from the federal, $2 million. $2.5 million coming in to help with the design costs of that 9-mile low-pressure service line. And hopefully we'll get funding for the construction of that as well. But that was good news to read about.
At this time, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to proceed with, for Mr. Eller and the administration to put together the water rate.
We can prepare legislation
legislation
to
for
put
that.
these into action at our next meeting before the end of the year on December the 18th.
If that's okay with the rest of the committee.
It's a whole council vote. That's a motion, so we need a second from the whole council.
It's a motion to prepare
Motion to
legislation
prepare
as
legislation.
proposed by the administration. Second. All in favor of that motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. We'll come back with that legislation in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Aller.
We have, as agenda item 7, another 3 months' worth of then and now certificates. This is a process that we started at the request of the Auditor of Ohio. Mr. Schroyer, you want to give us a little background on this?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, these are purchases that the city has made of over $3,000 that were made before the money was encumbered, whether it be, could have been an emergency situation, something that didn't have time to go through the process. The grand total is right around $216,000 of all these put together.
Is this in line with what other quarters have been?
Yes, it is very similar.
These were included in the council packets. Any questions of Mr. Schroyer at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hanson?
question for Mr. Schroyer, and I believe I've asked you this over email in the past, but I guess what I don't understand is how we have, not so much the dollar amount, but the quantity. We have this many purchases that occur prior to issuing a PO, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, that's what this is, of over $3,000. And it's more, you know, it's pretty difficult and the auditors understand this, that's why they have a secondary process to approve these purchases. But it's very difficult for the department heads to run and operate the city when you know, let's say a truck breaks down, almost anything could happen. They have to get the stuff done right away. And to go through the process, it would take a couple of days and it just wouldn't be effective to operate the city. Remember, we're making, you know, hundreds or thousands of purchases that are not included on this. It's just, and we'll continue to work on it. There's certain things that I can do with the department heads, you know, where we can do blanket purchase orders at the beginning of the year, and then they can make the, the purchases off of that. That's something we'll be focusing on in beginning of 2024, and hopefully that will make the number of these go down.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Hanson, another assurance about this is, these just don't come in and get blanket approval without the administration looking at them and say, hey, that's out of line, you need to sort that out. The department heads, and especially Mr. Schroyer, review these, and if something's out of line, we try to tie that down and restrict it in the future. This is a procedural convenience, but that doesn't mean spending is gone wild in any way.
Yeah, it still takes all the same signatures and the same process, it's just happening after the fact, essentially.
And Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
these are all items that are fitting within the budget that would have been approved for the year.
Yes, they
correct?
are. Yes,
And
they
these
are.
aren't items that would have come to council ahead of time anyway, correct?
They are all included in the budget, yeah.
Just making sure I'm.
These are not getting around your council-approved budget, no. All right, I think we need a motion to approve these certificates, then and now certificates. Mr. Fry,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve the then and now certificates from memo from Mr. Schroyer dated December 4th, 2023.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the then and now certifications per Mr. Schroyer's December 4th, 2023 memo. All in favor of that indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 8 is my request to confirm my reappointment of Ken Marciniak to the Municipal Planning Commission. Mr. Marciniak has been on there for some time, and he is an excellent resource to the Plan Commission. He is a commercial real estate realtor and is well aware of the market and brings an insight to the Planning Commission that we would not get otherwise. So I request you to confirm my reappointment of him.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Ken Marciniak. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. With that, we are up to agenda item 9, which is an executive session to discuss the potential sale of real estate. We would like to go into executive session again to confirm those details. It was discussed in an executive session 2 weeks ago, but we would like to confirm, bring some new information to you and discuss it with the potential buyers here. So I need a motion and a second to go into committee of the whole executive session.
Second, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I need the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Hanem?
Yes.
Mr. McCann?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Ms. Dow?
Yes.
Vote is 6-0. So we will now go into executive session. And I think the only person that needs feet at the same time. We have returned from executive session committee of the whole, where we discussed the potential sale of property. No action was taken in the executive session, but we do have action to take at this time as a result. Does everybody have one over here? As a result of the discussions in executive session. So with that, I would like to add 3 items to the agenda. I'd like to add, and these are being distributed to you now, ordinance 94, 2023. This is to sell the property at 4821 and 4827 Holland, Sylvania to the purchaser, which is Element 112 LLC. Also, ordinance 96, 2023, amending section 1101.01, adding a special use category. Also, special use permit 2, 2023, which would allow this wholesale bakery on this property. Both of those 2 items, ordinance 96 and special use permit 2, are for referral to the Planning Commission. They do meet next Wednesday. This is something they may ask questions about, and we'll have the meeting in January to resolve that. The critical path of this is to set the public hearing for February 5th, 2024. So let's start with ordinance number 94, 2023, the sale of the property. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 94, 2023, and read by title only. Approving the offer to purchase of Element 112 LLC to purchase 4815, 4821, and 4827 Holland Sylvania Road, Sylvania, Ohio, at a price of $175,000, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to accept said offer to purchase on behalf of the city of Sylvania, determining said real estate to no longer be needed for municipal purposes. I move passage of ordinance number 94, 2023 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 94, 2023 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and ordinance 94, 2023 is enacted as an emergency measure. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to ordinance 96, 2023, to amend Part 11 of our zoning code. Mr. Hanum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to move that we refer to the Planning Commission for its review and recommendation, ordinance number 96-2023, which will amend Part 11 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the Sylvania Codified Ordinances 1979 by amending Section 1101.01 definitions and by amending Section 1153.02 for special uses.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 96, 2023. For referral, excuse me. For referral to the Plan Commission for their review and recommendation. Thank you. All in favor of that indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And again, the Plan Commission is meeting a week from Wednesday, and then if necessary, they have the meeting the second week of January to firm up their recommendation back to you. We also have in front of you Special Use Permit 2, 2023. This is to change the zoning on the property to PROSUP, Special Use Permit. This is also for referral to the Planning Commission, and we also need to set the public hearing date for this as February 5th, 2024. Mr. Haney.
We'll do that set separately.
Okay,
Okay, so the ordinance creates a special use that we just referred to the planning commission. This is referring to the planning commission, this specific special use. Okay, so I move we refer application number SUP 2-2 2023 to the planning commission for their review and recommendation to permit operation of a wholesale bakery at 4815, 4821, and 4827 Holland Sylvania Road, Sylvania, Ohio.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to refer SUP 2023 to the Municipal Planning Commission for their review and recommendation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then finally, we need to set a public hearing date for both ordinance 96 and special use permit 2023. Mr. Haynem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we, can we do those in one hearing, or do we need two hearings?
Could we set two? We can do them like 7
Yeah.
o'clock and 7:05.
Well, we'll set them both for 7 o'clock.
Perfect.
Okay, I move that we schedule a public hearing on ordinance number 94-2023 on February 5th at 7 a.m.
2024.
96,
Oh, 96 ordinance.
ordinance 96.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry. Let's start over. I move we set a public hearing for February 5th at 7 o'clock on ordinance number 96-2023.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to set a public hearing, 7 PM, for ordinance 96, 2023. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the clerk is ordered to publicize that date. Now for the actual special use permit.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that we establish a public hearing at 7:05 on February 5th on application number SUP-2-2023.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to set a public hearing date for SUP 2023 on February 5th at 7:05. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the clerk is directed to publicize that public hearing date as well. Ms. Brining, does that conclude the
Yes.
business?
Yes, thank you all very much. That was a
We're
lot.
doing this the fastest way that our laws allow us to do it, and there is unanimous approval by City Council moving forward.
Thank you very much.
All right, with that, I need to ask, are there any committee reports or committee referrals to be made at this time? We already took care of water and sewer. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this council stands adjourned until its next regularly scheduled meeting 2 weeks from tonight on Monday, December 18th at 7:30 PM. Thank you for attending.